Okay, this is video 3 of a video series. All videos in this video series will be titled the same. Their titles will be Gang Stalking, Neural Influencing, Remote Neural Monitoring. Now, the reason why I'm verbally stating the title of this video series is because when I go to upload videos, when I have the chance to do so, 99% of the time I do not have a chance to immediately title the video by text, using text to title the video. So I want my viewers to know when they go into the YouTube account that you're watching this video through and you stumble across video 1 and 2, which at this time, both of those videos dedicated to the series, at this time, both of those videos are in one video. It's about 44 minutes long. So, as a result of not being able to have the time in real time when I upload my videos to title them by text, what I've been doing is I've been verbally stating what the title is. So when you go into the YouTube account, you run across the videos, you won't have to guess which video is a continuation or a part of the video series. Now, when I do title them by text, I will title them with the same title. Video 2 will have a number 2 at the end of it. Same thing with 3 will have a 3 at the end of it. And if I make a 4th or 5th, the same thing with that. Now, I went out of my way to state that is because most people, when they're watching videos and they say, okay, well, how am I supposed to know what video number 3 is pertaining to this particular series? How will I know what video number 4 is? Well, that's the reason why. If you hear me verbalizing what the video title is in the at the beginning of the video, you'll know that that particular video is either video 1, 2, because 3, 4, and so on. So what I'm going to do in this particular video is I'm going to rehash just a little bit of what I described in video number 2, which is, now what you need, and just bear with me a minute because I got to make a couple statements, and I apologize, it's going to take a minute for me to get into the subject matter, but these statements need to be made, so just, be just a teeny bit patient for me, and trust me, I guarantee you will literally be glad that you decided to stay with these videos if you just take the time to listen to all my statements, because all of it matters. Okay, now, when I use certain microcards that I usually buy from Amazon, that I then insert into my phones, which then enables me to make the videos and upload them, some of these microcards appear to have different types of formats. I don't know why. They appear to be coming from the same company, even though I've gotten different packaging with them. Now, the meat and potatoes concerning why this is relevant is that when I stick some of these microcards in my phones, sometimes they'll only allow me to make 33-minute, 9-second videos at a time. Other ones will just allow me to continue talking once it's reached that time period mark, which is why video 1 and 2, dedicated to this particular series, is combined within one video, which is about 44 minutes long. Now, let's just assume for a second that for whatever reason, when I'm approaching a 33-minute, 9-second mark in this particular video, whenever the microcard segues in and starts a new video, okay, it will show me a little dialog box on my phone that you've reached the 4 GB limit, and then that's my way of knowing that the card itself has started a new separate video. So if I don't see that appearing on my phone when I reach the 33-minute, 9-second mark, then you can assume that my sequential continued statements will be dedicated to video 3. Okay, if I have to start a new video, if I see the message on my phone, then when the new video time segment starts, it will be video 4. So as of right now, you can consider this video 3, and I've already verbalized the title. Now, pay attention to this. Unfortunately, these things need to be said.
If you are struggling to lose weight and you're...
I accidentally bumped my other phone here. So, what I'm going to do in this particular video is I'm going to rehash just what I briefly mentioned in this short segment of video 2, which is part of the 44-minute video. The reason why that video abruptly stopped is because the phone ran out of battery time. It ran out of battery power, so it abruptly stopped by itself. So I'm going to rehash just a few statements that I made in video 2. You absolutely want to watch the 44-minute long video, and remember the video's verbal title is mentioned at within 3 minutes of that video. Okay. So anyways, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to verbally state right now some of the things that I mentioned in the brief second part, video 2. And again, remember, video 1 and 2 are all the same video, the 44-minute long video. This is video 3. So what I stated in the latter part of the 44-minute video was the fact that I was giving you some examples, verbal examples, about how the brain, well, I talked about in the first video, how the brain and body responds to trauma. Trust me, you want to watch this video series, make no mistake about it. Make no mistake about it. So, in the 44-minute video, I went on to give some very good examples, verbal examples about how the human being can come down with post-traumatic stress, and why gang stalking crimes intentionally create post-traumatic stress. Okay, and so and I talked about how gang stalking crimes will stage events and situational scenarios and verbal threats and then carry them out. So when you watch the 44-minute long video, you're going to see how this video, which is video 3, okay, remember video 1 and 2 is the 44-minute long video. You're going to see how gang stalking crimes intentionally create post-traumatic stress in the gang stalking victim, and as the traumas that are occurring, as the situational scenarios that are intentionally staged for the victim to endure, okay, they are intentionally manufactured so that when they're implemented towards the victim and the victim's perceptions, the goal is to create the anxiety, the stress, the duress, the episodic memories, which are always attached to trauma and traumatization, which then in turn creates the post-traumatic stress. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to basically kind of pick off, okay, where I, and talk about, I'm going to pick up where I kind of left off at concerning video 2, but I'm going to rehash it too, so that you can see how this kind of ebb and flows, and because I want this kind of part of this exposure to be blended in with one video, okay, maybe segueing into the 4th video as well. So, now I'm going to make these statements, and you got to pay attention very closely, okay? These are, the initial statements are going to be the foundational statements, and then as I continue to talk, those statements are going to be built upon, and then as I, continue moving forward, you're going to see how the exposures within this video blend in perfectly with what's exposed in the 44-minute video. Now, so what I'm going to do right now is give you some verbal examples concerning the I'm not stepping away from what's being done in gang stalking concerning why they do what they do to intentionally create post-traumatic stress, and brain entrainment, auditory and visual brain entrainment is intimately directly connected to these motives, the intentional motive to create post-traumatic stress. And remember, episodic memories and memory mapping and memory stimulation through remote neural monitoring play an intimate direct link and role to that motive, because it's all blended in and part of the motive. So here's the examples. So I guarantee you'll be glad you stayed with this video and video series. I guarantee it. So just stay with me, please. So check this out. Now, so I'm going to give you 2 different examples, okay, and you're going to see how they relate as I continue to talk. The first example is, we all know if we have a dad who's present in the home through our childhood or whatever, a brother, a husband, uncle, whatever, whenever we have watched men work on their cars, and they're trying to use a wrench to loosen up a bolt or a nut. And so normally when men try to get down within the engine block to put a hand wrench on a nut or a bolt so that he can apply 200 pounds of pressure per square inch on that wrench in order to loosen up the bolt. Well, we all know throughout our life experiences, most people have experienced men experiencing the following. You put the wrench on the bolt, he applies massive force, and then all of a sudden the wrench slips off the bolt. And as a result of so much force being applied on the wrench right before it slips, what happens is that the hand will go down when the wrench slips off the bolt, while he's applying that 200 pounds per square inch of pressure on the wrench to try and unlock the bolt. When the wrench slips, the hand goes down and it hits the engine block, and he instantly screams in pain while he's instantly angry simultaneously, meaning that he's experiencing the pain and the extreme anger at the same time, just like when you massively stub your toe in a big way. Okay, so we all know that when we stub our toe really badly, we go into instant pain and anger at the same time. Now, you'll understand why I'm telling you this in a second. You're going to absolutely see how it's important. Okay, so we've all witnessed our men experience these very, very painful episodes, and how when it happens in real time, the second that it friggin' happens, he is experiencing extreme pain and extreme anger simultaneously. Okay? Just like when we stub our toe, we go into instant pain and instant anger at the same time. Okay? Now, set that verbal example aside just for a second, and then listen to this carefully. Yeah. So, say you're at a grocery store, and you just got out of your car, and you're walking up towards the front door. Okay? And then you see a man coming out who's carrying a bag of groceries, and then you see another man wearing black and white, and he's approaching the direct physical proximity of the man that just came out. Now, the man who's approaching the door to go in bumps into the man that just came out, and the man that got bumped into, the one that came out, starts yelling and screaming, and even possibly beginning to engage in attacking the person who bumped into him, while that person who bumped into him is apologizing. Okay? So when you're an onlooker to that entire event, you might say to yourself, in fact, you more than likely will say to yourself, that this person is acting completely disproportional to the seemingly accident thing that happened towards this guy who was coming out, by and through the man going in. The man who's wearing black and white, who just appears to be verbally apologetic concerning bumping into this man. Say, in fact, let's even add one additional attribute to this scenario. Say the man coming out has got a bunion on his big toe on his left foot, or a corn or something that makes his left big toe extremely sensitive. And then as he's coming out, the guy who's going in that's wearing black and white steps on his toe while he's bumping into him, and that's going to cause pretty intense pain immediately. Okay? So then the guy who got his toe stepped on while he was being bumped, seemingly by a man who accidentally did it, who's apologizing, who's wearing black and white, the guy who got bumped into starts acting angry, hostile, going off on the guy verbally, and maybe even approaching him to maybe that would suggest that maybe he might be beginning to attack him. So you might think to yourself, well, that guy's behavior seems to be completely inappropriate to somebody who was innocently bumping into him. Okay? Now, why is this important? My fellow American citizens, when you compare these two events, what do you think that what kind of contrast? Obviously, you're seeing a contrast, because these two events are one, the person working on his car is not at a grocery store. It's a totally separate event, two separate situational scenarios. The first event where the guy hurt his knuckles because the wrench slipped off, okay, is just a normal appearing thing that goes on and happens to most men throughout their lifetime. And even women who work on their cars, obviously. Okay? So you might say to yourself, what would that event have to do with the event of the guy who got his extremely sensitive toe stepped on while he was being bumped into by a man who's wearing black and white, who's acting verbally apologetic for the action that he committed seemingly accidentally against the guy who's coming out of the grocery store? So when we look at these two contrasting things, the first one's got instinctual, biological, normal, reactionary, human biological reactionary responses. The wrench slips off the bolt, the guy gets immediately hurt, he goes into instant anger and pain. The other guy, his attitude seems to be disproportional to somebody who's accidentally bumping into him, right? But they're both experiencing anger and pain. Okay? So why is this relevant in gang stalking crimes? What could be going on here? So check this out. When you're a gang stalking victim, The vast majority of gang stalking victims end up being non-consensual human experimentation subjects. Every last bit of it, from beginning to end, is nothing but sadistic, depraved, non-stop, completely depraved torture. The worst torture that has ever been affected upon the human family in the entire history of the human race. Even the United Nations has declared gang stalking victims as being extreme torture victims in the UN Cyber Torture Report released in February and March of 2020. So keep that in mind. 2, the man that was coming out of the grocery store is a gang stalking victim, and the person that bumped into him was intentional. I'll get back to that in a second. Now, so what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to explain some things to you so you can see some of the things that are reported to be occurring in gang stalking crimes, and your mind is literally going to be blown. Okay? So listen carefully. Now, what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to bring a video up. It's only 2 minutes long, so bear with me.
Remote neural monitoring is one of the terms we use
now,
for
when you hear the following statement, if you don't know anything at all about gang stalking, your initial immediate response will be, there's no way this can be happening. So first, let me tell you right now, there's books written about this by doctors and ex-CIA scientists who helped develop the technology that you're about ready to hear about. There's hundreds of books out there talking about this crime and the neurological and biological weapons that gang stalking victims are enduring. Okay, there's tens and tens of thousands of posts all over the internet on every online platform that you can think of, literally daily being exposed concerning what's happening to gang stalking victims and the torture we're enduring and the non-consensual human experimentation. And this crime has been repeatedly covered on national radio several times, different national radio shows on different dates, including ones I've been on. So it doesn't matter what you initially believe when you hear this video that's a little bit over 2 minutes long. It doesn't matter where you believe it, suspect it, or believe it could be happening or is happening. It's happening. Okay? Even the scientists that helped develop this technology are all over the internet exposing it. Ex-CIA scientist Dr. Robert Duncan, along with professors, other doctors, researchers, scientists, and then you got the tens of thousands of victims' testimonies. So trust me when I say, and books have been written about it, including by doctors. Okay? So you can't, it's going on. Now, just hold on 1 second. Let me light my cigarette because I'm making this video as I'm taking a break. Now, you need to listen very, very, very carefully to this video. And what you're going to hear in this video is also massively widely reported online. Okay? So let me jump right into playing you the audio. I got to turn on my Bluetooth speaker just for a second, so bear with me so you can really hear it. So this should only take 2 seconds here. All right. Now, it usually connects right away, and it's taking a little bit longer, so bear with me. Oh! Alright, so I'm waiting for the Bluetooth speaker to connect. I'm waiting for it to pair. And it usually does it within 3 seconds, and when I'm trying to do it while I'm making a video... Okay, so it just did it. Okay, so what I'm going to do is first show you this video title. Okay? Let me zoom in on this so you can see it better. Okay, and so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to turn it on. I'm going to set the speaker of the phone I'm making this video through up next to the Bluetooth, and you need to listen to every syllable. You ready? Okay, let me take it back to 0. Listen carefully.
Remote neural monitoring is one of the terms we use for it. The other term is psychotronic weaponry. Weaponry that has been designed to interact with the human nervous system in order to remotely pick up on someone's neural network or EEG and not only receive that and monitor it, but manipulate it and place it back into the victim to control their emotions or control their actions or bodily functions for that matter. The other more recent term we have for that is EEG heterodyning or EEG cloning. The difference between EEG heterodyning and EEG cloning would be let's say me remotely receiving your EEG and then duplicating it and putting that in another person to give them your same thoughts or feelings or physical reactions. EEG heterodyning would be receiving your EEG, manipulating it to put it back inside your head to give us a desired physical reaction or emotional reaction. Robert Duncan worked on some of the projects. I mean, he claims it's a very complex, mathematical situation.
The whole kingdom's Snow White. They can literally plug you into the internet, which is just to give you a very simple way of understanding that. And what that scientist there is describing now is the hive mind. Now, if people think this is somehow sci-fi or conspiracy theory, they're absolutely wrong, and they're way behind this, because this is here now. It's been done. It's been done in experiments, and it's been proven to work.
24/7 monitoring of every person on the planet.
What does it take to actually lock onto a target? Do they have to decode somebody's energy signature? How exactly does that work?
Yeah, you're asking great questions, and I gotta be careful what I say, but the person's brain print, their particular energy signature, just like a thumbprint or something like that, needs to be collected before the long process of retraining the brain.
The whole kingdom's Snow White.
Now, let me just stop this from YouTube going into the next video by itself. Bear with me 2 seconds because I'm bringing another video up as I'm speaking, and I gotta let it cycle through the commercial that came up so that doesn't become part of the video. Okay, now hold on. Okay, so when you look at what occurred between these two people, the one working on his car and the extreme immediate anger and pain that was experienced simultaneously, to the seemingly unusual response from the person who got his toe stepped on by a person, okay, that was going into the grocery store, that person wearing black and white, the onlookers at the store are going to say the way this person is acting is inappropriate and disproportional to his seemingly thing that happened accidentally. Okay? Well, in gang stalking crimes, what these little psycho maggots are doing, these criminally insane, depraved, demented, mass murdering whores are doing, is that you can take the emotions from the person who slipped the wrench on the car and hurt his hand, and in that moment in time when that wrench slipped and he experienced that extreme anger and pain, the brain is processing that through the pain signals and the emotional clusters of anger. That can be harvested in real time as that person is experiencing that. It can then be put into a software program, and specific mathematical algorithms can be applied to it. And then once they complete that process, what they then can turn around and do is take those emotional cluster frequency outputs and place them onto a gang stalking victim who's coming out of the grocery store, so that when the person going in that's put there deliberately step on his toe, then the gang stalking victim will believe that the pain and anger that he is experiencing because someone stepped on his toe, okay, is his own. While that same victim is experiencing simultaneously voice to skull with voice morphing, where intentional dialogue is being transmitted into his audio cortex in his own voice print on how to respond to this person who stepped on his toe, who's wearing black and white. That way they can get him to act out verbally in order to make him look like he's crazy, insane, violent, and hostile to a guy who seemingly accidentally stepped on his toe and is being apologetic. Because that's a gang stalking street theater. A gang stalking street theater and gang stalking crimes is where they play something out against the victim, and they do it in a way to make it appear that it's an accident. Okay? So that when the accident occurs and then the neuromanipulation occurs against the victim in real time that's related to the accident, they can make that victim appear violent, mentally ill, acting out disproportionately to a seemingly appearing accident, when it's actually the gang stalking victim is being intruded upon through EEG cloning, heterodyning, and emotional cluster cloning, where the victim's brain is literally experiencing the pain and anger of what was harvested from the person who accidentally slipped his wrench as he was working on an engine and experienced intense pain and anger in that second that occurred. It's called cloning emotions, monitoring the brain when the brain is experiencing a certain normal reactionary response to an accident. Every man on this planet has eventually went through that as he's working on his car, right? So what all and when you go to Google and you extensively research at Google the following statement, pay attention very closely. Remote neural monitoring, which was discussed right at the beginning of the audio of the video you just heard, and it's even mentioned in the title of the video, is widely reported to be transmitted through one of the main conduits that all human beings use pretty much nowadays on this planet walk through and in the midst of, Wi-Fi. So the next time you go to a grocery store or a coffee shop, before you even enter that grocery store and coffee shop, bring up your friggin' phone and then go in and press on Wi-Fi before you enter it. Stand right outside of it, okay? Go into your phone and bring up Wi-Fi and see if that store's Wi-Fi is available to you or at least appears on your phone. Now, the reason I'm telling you to do that is because Wi-Fi signals can be out directly outside of any business before you go in the door. So if remote neural monitoring is one of the main, if Wi-Fi is one of the main reported conduits for remote neural monitoring to operate through, and remote neural monitoring is interfacing with the victim's brain using Wi-Fi, when that victim walks out of the grocery store, he's still in that grocery store's Wi-Fi range. But you should also know that Wi-Fi boxes can be covertly placed in the environment, and Wi-Fi signals can be projected from any type of vehicle or surrounding building right next to the grocery store. Because gang stalking, which is a nationwide criminal expedition, they're not going to walk up to the victim and say, hey, you're about ready to be set up for neural hacking and influencing, so we can set you up, so we can make you look like a crazy, violent person, so we can lock you up for racketeering purposes, including in group homes and the prison industrial complex. Group homes being for illegal probate control schemes as a result of them claiming you're mentally ill and violent and a threat to others. Okay? So, which is nothing but biomedical human trafficking in order to achieve other forms of human trafficking. Okay? So, because most people don't know, anybody that's put in a group home, most of them are owned by organized crime directly connected to gang stalking. The people who own these homes can place anywhere between 7 and 9 clients in one home, and then federal and state funds are applied for in that client's name. And so much more is going on in these homes as well. So let me show you another video, and you're going to understand where the black and white color coding that the person wore that seemingly innocently accidentally stepped on this guy's toe as the guy, as he was going into the grocery store as the victim was coming out. Okay? Why is black and white color coding connected to the sensitization method of gang stalking going on? But black and white is not the only color that is being used in the color coding and the sensitization method of gang stalking. So let me show you a tidbit of this particular video right here. This is going to be very informative, and I'm going to be watching the 33-minute 9-second mark. So if this particular video decides to start a new video once it reaches that mark, then what I'll be doing is re-mentioning the video's title at the beginning of the video, which will be gang stalking, neural influencing, and remote neural monitoring. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to show you this video's title real fast. You want to bring this up, and you definitely want to go into this YouTube channel and look at all of its videos, all of them, because this video massively exposes what's happening to gang stalking victims. You would not believe it. You just would not believe it. So here's that video's title, and hold on one second. I got to feed my squirrel. My squirrel just came up to me. Come here, babe. Okay, so what you want to do here is you want to go to the YouTube channel. Let me zoom in on this a little bit better. A Simulated Reality. Okay, I'll show you the actual channel here in a few minutes. So here's the video title right here. The Unfortunate Truth. Life is a video game played by evil demigods. This is the singularity. Now, so I want you to listen closely to what you're about ready to see and hear. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn this phone into landscape mode. And then I'm going to press play, and I want you to listen closely and watch closely. Okay? So here we go.
A building, and there's like a blueprint or a scale model of the building. Imagine I have the whole world and all of its concepts, and I shrink it down into this weird compressed representation so that it fits inside my brain.
That same thing happens with the computer. The data is sent to the computer, then it is rendered, and from what I understand, that's where this technology is right now. The cutting edge is trying to marry, the software that's used to render it on the computer and the actual detecting of the signal and the hacking of the signal within the human.
Now, let me go back to that just for 1 second. Now, what you're going to witness here, when a person is out and about in the community, look at how many other people in the environment are wearing black and white, blue and white, red and white. These things matter. You'll see in a minute. So I'm going to replay that just small little segment there.
Detecting the signal and the hacking of the signal within the human mind.
Grand Theft Auto 5, also known as GTA 5, is a very good example of how all this could be accomplished. In the game, on one of the many streets of its virtual city called Los Santos, you see a very familiar picture. You are surrounded by cars that are hurrying to and fro somewhere into the distance, and crowds of people line the sidewalks. In general, everything's very similar to how it is in real life. And in the game, this general picture accompanies you everywhere, all the time, regardless of your location in Los Santos. If you turn a corner, you see more cars and more crowds of passers-by. So being on that Los Santos street, you might think the same story is happening to others. That life is alive and happening in the whole city at any point in the urban landscape. But, in fact, this is simply not true. You must not forget that everything you see is just an illusion built just for you. While you are on the street with the conditional A, absolutely nothing says little street B. Nothing happens there. The game continuously, magically, because street is living active life, while street B drowns in silence, and in fact, nothing exists. All modern video games work on this principle.
Okay, now, for the most part of what you just saw is not relevant to the subject matter of this video because I accidentally rewounded the video a little bit too much. But I'm going to go ahead and continue to play it because it's getting ready to segue into the relevant matter. But since you did see what I just showed you, do you notice how many people were wearing black and white and blue and white? Okay, because these are common color patterns. And you'll understand why that's relevant in a minute. So just, bear with me maybe another minute or two until it segues into the important part.
When you are absent from a certain location of a virtual city, there is absolutely nothing at this location. No people, no cars, no city itself. The developers optimized the game in order to reduce the load on the computer's hardware.
They weren't able to transmit the digital images fast enough, so they needed some way to reduce the file sizes.
Alright, so now this is where it's important. Watch carefully and then listen to my follow-up statement. Now hold on, I'm reaching the 33-minute mark. Okay, so it doesn't appear that it started a second video. Okay? Alright, so now listen, this is the part you want to pay attention to here in the next few minutes from this second forward.
The algorithm developed by the FBI, along with some government-funded labs, became a standard in how fingerprint images were stored and transferred. A deep look at the mathematics of this technique is way beyond a 15-minute YouTube video, but we can get a very good idea for the general concept and how they managed to reduce the necessary storage by a factor of 20. So let's see what they did. A digital image, when you zoom in, is just made up of a bunch of pixels, each of a specific color, and those colors are represented by some numerical value. Now, for this video, like that previous one, we will only be worried about grayscale images, where we can have black, white, and a continuous spectrum of different shades of gray. So pictures like these.